Good morning, early game crew. It's Preston's version of Hump Day. It's Thursday on your bye week.
As I told Elijah this morning, Thursday 1, Preston 0, but it's still early. Still got time.
A whole lot of ball game left.
Still got time, but boy.
A whole lot of ball game left.
Thursday's up early.
It's pick 6 to start the game. Where you're like, okay, not ideal. Not a good use of the first possession, but we'll hang in there. Still a whole lot of ball game left.
That's right.
Hopefully you are defeating Thursday so far, and if you're not, just remember, a whole lot of ball game left. There are going to be a lot of big third downs throughout your day. I'm Elijah Campbell. He's Preston Thorne. She's Jen Jensen. We still hanging out on a bye week, and I feel like bye weeks you're just kind of like, as a fan, you're just kind of kicking around. You're seeing what else is going on. You're like, okay, maybe it's a really good weekend in college football. It's really not. Slate's kind of
right.
So we're both looking in here for our Underdog Challenge, 7:30 today. Our boy Nick Harvey from Team WIS will come in here and join us for that as always. And I was like, man, not a lot of like blockbuster games, which usually though, however, that's usually when you get the fun stuff.
Correct.
I have learned. That is when the wackiness happens.
And that's the beauty of college football because you never know. You never really know. A lot of times you think it's going to be the marquee games against the ranked teams, and that has delivered this year also.
We've had a lot of good ones.
That's been cool, but these are the type of weekends where really wacky things happen. So that's why you can't not watch.
That's right. That's because you might miss it. If you don't watch, you'll probably miss it. Something crazy could definitely happen. Like Vanderbilt doing it again. Can they do it again? Is any of us brave enough to take Vanderbilt to go at Alabama and win? We'll see. We'll see. That's at 7:30.
Mm-hmm.
But bye week priority list. I'm usually one of the world's worst at when I have a slate, a schedule for the day, and it's a little lighter, being like, okay, I can get some other stuff done. Guess what I don't do? Other stuff that I could get done and work on early. Not very good at that. World's greatest procrastinator. And I'll hang the banner eventually. But for South Carolina, bye week priority list. Let's say Preston Thorne is the head coach of this football team.
Okay.
You've got a 5-game sample size from what you've seen of this team so far this year. You know what the strengths are. You know what your weaknesses are. How much of it is fixable with an additional week heading into going into a bye week and then LSU right after on the road? How much of it is something that you just have to work around because it might not be fixable and you have to go back to the drawing board? Yeah,
so I was thinking about this when I saw the prompts when we started having this conversation. I came up with 3 R's.
Ooh.
Okay, not the Earth Day 3 R's, not reduce, reuse, recycle. Not those.
Also important.
Also important. But I do have 3 R's. So let's start with this one. And one of them is actually the same. Reduce.
Oh.
This is the time where Mike Shula goes into the playbook and throws things away.
Ooh, I like that.
You go into the playbook, you look around, you say, you know what? Like you're looking in your closet like, we hadn't worn that in a year. Toss it. Hadn't called that play to this point in the season. Toss it. Called it a couple of times in this point in the season. Didn't work. Toss it. And you go through and you find the things that are working for you, and either you get to more of them or you continue to call them. So that's the first thing I would do during the bye week. As a coach, you're not necessarily game planning for the next week, so you have a time to self-scout. So that's probably what they're doing. They're going over and seeing their tendencies and running all the analytics. So that would be my first thing. Reduce the playbook. Get it out of here.
Recycling one of the 3 R's, if you will.
Yeah. You gotta have to either plays that have worked, run them more, and plays that did not work, throw them away. They don't need to just be in your closet just because you bought it one time and you thought you was going to fit into that eventually. You thought you was going to fit into those jeans eventually. You're not. Throw them away.
Guilty as charged. Guilty. I've got too many clothes from when I was about like 30 pounds lighter that I'm like, man, this still looks good. If I can just, go really hard at maybe getting down to like 205, I can wear this and it not look like it is a strain on my body.
Not going for the Hooters look?
No. So, yeah, showing a little too much. Yeah, that's the and some of it's like it's a little too short, but I'm like, if I stretch it, if I just This really
That's what Mike Schuler's probably saying about the playbook. Like, man, if we can just run this inside zone, you can't.
Inside zone staring at him like the Green Goblin mask. It's like, do it, keep it.
Throw it away. Get it out. So that'd be my first thing. All right, the next thing, recovery.
I like that.
You got to recover from the injuries
Especially
that you have on the offensive line.
Gracious.
It's a week for you to. You're not relaxing, but it's active recovery, right? You're getting all your treatment, you're getting all your stretching, you're doing all those things, you're getting lathered up, you're working your body out without maybe the physical toll of the next week in front of you. So that'd be another thing. You gotta try and recover. And as we said, the bye week is always at a perfect time, but for our schedule, it's at a really opportune time as you head into the gauntlet coming up ahead of you. So it is a good time for you to get as healthy as possible because you never will be fully healthy.
When it comes to like active recovery, is winning that game against Kentucky maybe a little better for the active recovery because then you feel maybe a little more motivated. You feel like you got it back a little bit. Whereas if you would have lost that game, human nature would set in at some point. Not saying that players pack it in or they start coasting or throw up the white flag. But maybe let's just say, it's a hamstring thing that's bothering you. So much of recovering from hamstring injuries is just stretching.
Yes.
Constant stretching.
Yes.
Constant. You're maybe more reluctant to do so whenever you got your ego bruised by losing to Kentucky, if that were the case.
Yeah, and even more so for the coaches. Because if you go into this week off of a loss, what looks like somebody is recovering, right, or relax. Now, what is recovery looks like relaxing. And after a loss, you're like, why are we relaxing? We just lost to Kentucky, the worst team in the SEC. Get up, run. And now, and your ego wants to make up for last week during this bye week, and it can't happen. So when you win, everybody's like, oh, okay. Yeah, look at Elijah over there stretching, active recovery.
His active recovery.
Yeah. It's just changed and that's one of the big things going into a bye week is just the psyche of the organization. Anytime you win, the building feels better. Like everybody's, the
vibes are up.
Nutritionist, the janitor, the secretaries, everybody feels better when you win. So if you have another week on top of that, people just feel better going into the building.
I like that. So we have reduce, recovery. Is this where recycle comes in?
It's not where recycle comes in, not yet.
Not yet.
Because last you have reset. You get a chance to reset, a mental reset, a chance to take a breath because they've been going hard since the beginning of August, right?
Yep.
Full go, going hard every single day. You get a chance to take a weekend off. I believe the coaches might get Saturday off. They'll probably still watch football because they're all sickos.
To do this job, you kind of have to.
Yeah, but you're watching it different. They're probably watching it as a spectator. Maybe you watch it with your family.
Can you turn that switch off, though, from like coach to spectator? That's one thing I've always wondered. Like, if you're a coach, can you watch a game without stressing about another team not making an adjustment on defense when they're getting torched?
Yeah, but you probably more so as a fan. Like, you're just watching it. You're just watching the game. You're not watching the game that you're about to play, or you're not watching a team. But it's just a little bit more casual as the coaching staff. So they get a chance to reset. The players also get a chance to reset. You get a weekend off. I remember during our bye weeks, you would have your bags packed on like Thursday after practice. Class can catch me later. On Fridays, if I had a Friday class, we'll just have to deal with that later. Got my bags packed. After Thursday practice, boom, you are hitting the road somewhere. Might be going to a teammate's house, might be going home, might be going to a significant other, wherever the case is, but you're probably getting out of here. Just because you've been in Columbia, in the facility every single day since August, it's a chance to reset again as you get ready for that gauntlet coming up.
Going back to reducing, I think that on offense specifically, finding a lot of the plays that work. And in Old Man versus Analytics, I found some interesting statistics about your usage of a certain play, type of play, and how effective it is. And there's a pretty large gap between there, right? Oceanic, if you will, in terms of a gap. But how much of that is saying, okay, we don't want to completely change our identity with what we do, or do you go back and say, hey, we need to kind of change what it is that we do a little bit, because now we get to have a serious look at ourselves and take a longer look in the mirror than we would have time to do normally in a traditional game week.
If there was a time for you to, so the R would be reverse course. Right? Turn it around. If something was working, or if you find something that you thought was going to work and it's not, this is the week where you can abandon that, reverse course, or do whatever you can. So if you found some plays that you thought were going to be staples of your team and they're not, that's why I said reduce. Like, get them out of there, or again, maybe change your philosophy. This is the week to do it, because when you're in game week, it just flows by. The rhythm of a game week doesn't lend you a lot of time for experimentation or doing new things. So this is the week. If you were going to do something, this is the time.
I would like to use one more R word in order to describe what one of the priorities for this week are: reflection.
Ooh.
Take an honest look
Great one.
to who you are. And that's what we're going to do next, because before the season started, SEC Media Day polls had you at 5th. When I voted, I had South Carolina at 7th. That was what I took as an honest reflection of South Carolina and every team in the SEC to determine where they were in the hierarchy. Well, now we have 5 games of sample size. And for most teams in the SEC, we have 5 games of sample size. And with the exception of Texas, everybody's got at least a game of SEC sample size. So if we're doing the same exercise here and re-ranking our media poll ballots, where do we have South Carolina in relation to everyone else? After 5 games to start the year, where are the Gamecocks in the SEC hierarchy? We answer that question next here on the Early Game.
great news to start off your Thursday morning. We are seeing no accidents, not really experiencing any significant slowdowns. So all very good news. 77, that's going to be our high today. 78 tomorrow. 81 for Saturday and Sunday. And Sunday is when we might see some afternoon or evening showers. But again, the overnight low is going to be a little bit cooler for the next couple days. Tomorrow morning, waking up maybe around 55 or so, 58 Saturday morning. So just a couple days of something a little bit cooler. It is really about 8 or 9 degrees cooler this morning than it was yesterday. It's 60 right now on 107.5 The Game.
The SEC media polls had South Carolina 7th. Well, my poll had them 7th. The polls, plural, had them 5th. Where do the Gamecocks stand right now in that hierarchy? We'll get to that in just a bit, but first we will head to the AAA Heating and Air phone lines. We'll get to Will, who's been waiting patiently. Will, good morning. Welcome to the early game.
Good morning. How are y'all doing?
Great. How are you?
I'm all right. Y'all were talking about the bye week this week and maybe having Mike Shula throw out a couple of plays that ain't working. The ones that we run it right up the middle over and over again. Insanity. Do y'all think that maybe Beamer and Shula should take a look at kind of what Ole Miss did against LSU and what maybe Florida's done, and maybe how Vanderbilt is exposed some defenses this year, and maybe say, hey, if our offensive line isn't big enough to push people around, maybe have an offensive line that maybe tries to move the ball, to the left side of the field or the right side of the field, maybe like some stretch plays, some option type plays, just, plays to where we utilize Lenore Sellers and maybe Rasul Fazion's speed a little bit more, because I feel like Fazion's not a running up the middle kind of running back. And I feel like if our offensive line can't physically, hey, we're going to bulldoze you and run you over, you know what I'm saying, maybe try to use the offense when it comes to the running game to where they don't have to try to hold a block for so long, or more screen stuff, more RPO, more, read option type stuff, to where, they have to think about, the defense has to think about Lenore Sellers running the ball a little bit more. And I'll hang up, and thanks for taking my call.
Yeah, absolutely, Will. The first part of that, in terms of seeing what other teams do, like what Ole Miss did to LSU, I think is a fantastic idea, because Pablo Picasso used to say that good artists borrow, great artists steal.
Yeah, and that's exactly, you heard the phrase, it's a copycat league. They usually say that about the NFL. It's the same at any level of football. When you're watching tape of other teams and you see something that works, especially against one of your opponent, you note it down, see how you can use it in your particular scheme, because you can't, it's too late to change wholesale. Like, you're not going to just go run Vandy's offense now because we're deep. They've been experts at that. They've been running that. Mm-hmm. There might be a couple of wrinkles that you can take from other squads. So that's again, what you use the bye week for.
Yeah, certainly. Back to the AAA Heating and Air phone lines. David is on the line. David, good morning. Welcome to the early game.
Good morning, guys. Really enjoyed the Tape Talk Tuesday show. Y'all did a good job.
Thank you.
The question I've got is, with the bye week, I know it's nice to have a break, but how can that break potentially result in coming out flat or rusty, if you will? And the old saying that there's a difference between being in shape and being in game shape. How much would having a time off affect that too? Take it off there. Appreciate what you do.
Yeah, appreciate it, David. Thanks for the call, man. Yeah, Preston.
Yeah, that's a great question. And this is where you have to know your who One of those corporate sayings, know your
KYP.
personnel. Know your personnel. Know who needs to maybe stay on campus so that you can keep an eye on them so that they don't get too far afield.
Supervision.
Yeah,
Still in
because
play.
that can happen. Some extracurriculars could get involved on a weekend like that. That is a solid point. As far as you coming out flat, that's why this week is almost a separate season in itself, and you have different objectives, whether you're reducing, recovery, whatever. And then next week, when you come back on team meetings on Sunday, we're back into the season, and you get back into your the rhythm that you've been having all season. I don't suspect that the bye week will be a reason that they came out flat. Also, going into LSU, you'll be charged up.
That charges it pretty good.
So I don't think that's going to be something now they might not play well, but that's a different thing. But I don't think they'll come out flat because of the bye week.
Now we get back to what the preseason expectation was for this team around the SEC, where they're at right now. Again, beginning of the season when we were in Atlanta, I had South Carolina 7th. Decided today during a bye week would be a good time to redo a ballot, right? I think I only have one team in their same spot as it was when I voted in Atlanta. Preston, we both have teams ranked 1 through 16 based on what we've seen so far this year. Should we take it from the bottom up or from the top down?
Let's start. Well, we know what on 3. Let's say the bottom. 1, 2, 3.
Kentucky.
Cool.
Coach,
All right.
yes.
We can move forward from them.
Easy.
Bottom dweller. That's done. Let's go to the top. And because I have them listed out in front of me, and the standings are sort of jumbled as teams who haven't lost yet, but that's not the same as having
Who do I
them
think
ranked.
is yes?
Yeah. So let's go with the top.
The best teams right now. So starting at the top, you want to do one, 2, 3 for number 1? Because I think we might have the same one.
Ready?
1, 2, 3. Ole Miss. Yep. That's the best, most well-rounded team right now, it looks like. And I didn't think that might be the case whenever Arkansas put up a lot of points on them, but also Arkansas's offense can score when they're locked in. And I think that actually says a lot about Notre Dame's defensive improvement that they held Arkansas to 13 at home. But Ole Miss, I think, got better with Trinidad Chambliss at quarterback.
I think Ole Miss is, as of now, there's a couple of teams that I could say are 2A, 2B, 2C in a second little tier. I think Ole Miss is top tier right now as far as the SEC is concerned.
Offense is firing on all cylinders.
With the second-string quarterback.
With a second-string quarterback, it looks more explosive. They nailed their transfer portal additions on that side of the ball. Kawan Lacey, one of those transfers from Missouri, has been this, I'd say the pretty clear-cut second-best running back in the SEC right now. They look really good. And defensively, they're good enough. Now, even the team I think is the best team in the SEC right now, has some work to do with the defense. But I think it is good enough. And when they needed to go on a long drive to completely put LSU out of the game, they did it. And even though that was ended up being a one-score game as the final, spiritually, Ole Miss won that by a couple scores.
Mm-hmm.
Now, number 2, I have Alabama.
Okay.
I think the win at Georgia holds a lot of weight there. We're getting further removed from the Florida State game. If I just take what they've done the last 3 games, yes, 2 are against Louisiana Monroe and Wisconsin at home. Wisconsin and Louisiana Monroe, couldn't tell you the difference between the 2 right now because Wisconsin's really bad. But Alabama's playing really good ball. Texas A&M at 3, Georgia at 4, Oklahoma 5, Texas 6, LSU 7, Vanderbilt 8, Tennessee 9, Missouri 10, Mississippi State 11, South Carolina 12. Then followed by Auburn, Florida, and Arkansas before getting back to the cellar in Kentucky.
Who was right before South Carolina?
I had Mississippi State. Have a win against the top 25 team at home. Took Tennessee to overtime at home and was really, spiritually, the better team in that football game.
All right, so 2 questions. Vandy beats Alabama. What does that do to those 2 teams in your mind?
Ooh, Vandy beats Alabama. Especially at Alabama. That probably puts them 3 or 2 or 3. So at that point, then what do I have in terms of a resume that says Vanderbilt can't beat anybody?
Mm-hmm.
You know? And the way they play offense is going to be hard for anybody to stop. Because if I had to pick who has done the best job as a coordinator in this league, it's Tim Beck, and Tim Beck. Like he takes 1, 2, and 3, right? Because what he's done with that offense is take it to another level. They've incorporated a longer part of their passing game where they can stretch the field a little bit. So you can't just do the Kentucky thing and keep guys in front of you. You have to play them differently than you did last year. And they were kind of tricky last year. They are trickier this year. And defensively, they have seemed game to play whoever it is. The Utah State game was a little weird with them defensively, but for the most part this year, they have been game at the line of scrimmage.
Second question, and that's just on this week's schedule. Mississippi State versus Texas A&M. How do you feel about that game? Does that game, if Texas A&M loses, is it a bad loss, quote unquote bad loss?
Yes, because you're supposed to win that game. It's at home. If Texas A&M wants to continue to be a top 3 team in the SEC, yes, I think Mississippi State is good, much improved. But this is a game that top 3 teams in this league don't lose.
Gotcha.
Even though we want to say, yeah, the SEC is a gauntlet every week. It's the toughest league in the country, yada, yada, yada. We do this all the time. However, if you are who you say you are, you win this game. Now, when you did this exercise, where did South Carolina fall?
This is not a good sign because I'm having to do some counting here.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
They fell right after, ironically, right after LSU in my mind. I think that's 9th, 10th.
9th? Okay.
10th. I have them 10th. And the reason why I have them there, that's lower than should be expected. But the game that they lost were two very seemingly good SEC teams.
Mm-hmm.
Missouri, who I have second, on the top of that second tier, and
yes.
Vandy, who I have in that middle tier. So they lost to 2 what I think are going to be good teams. So it's still to be determined what the rest of the season plays out with. Not good losses. However, those were good teams.
Yes. And there's something with Missouri. Because it's such a smaller SEC sample size, I still weighed out Tennessee's win at Mississippi State, who I think is a good team, and taking Georgia to overtime. I still, until Georgia loses a really bad game, I mean, at the end of the day, they were not very heavily favored to beat Alabama. Then I can consider Georgia to be out of that top part. I'm not going to bury Kirby Smart.
That's fair.
Just yet.
I wouldn't do that either.
Yeah, I don't think I would. But South Carolina right now, only ahead of Auburn, Florida, Arkansas, Kentucky. Still a lot of room. A win against LSU helps that a lot. And that might shift how I weigh out some of the wins against LSU for other teams on this list. But a very interesting exercise to do nonetheless. Old Man versus Analytics. I discovered a new fancy tool on PFF, making this maybe the most fun Old Man versus Analytics in a while. That's next.
Looking at no accidents at this point, no significant slowdowns at this point as well. On your Thursday morning, breezy today, 77 for the high, that overnight low of 55. 78 and sunny tomorrow. Overnight low of 58. Will be in the low 80s for the rest of the weekend. Maybe an afternoon or evening shower on Sunday and a few scattered showers on Monday. But right now, a little bit cooler than it was yesterday. It's 60 on 107.5 The Game.
Let's get nerdy. It's Old Man versus Analytics. And I told Preston this morning before we got on air and turned these mics on that I discovered a fancy new tool on Pro Football Focus that has allowed me to make this segment even better.
You could talk about getting nerdy, and then when you talk about coming in here at 5:35 in the morning, talking about, hey, Preston, I've got a new tool. We're going to be able to compare all kinds of statistics, PFF grades.
This is where I take my finger over my glasses are at the bridge of it and just push it.
Oh my God, you're not going to believe it.
Forehead.
There's a new analytical tool.
You're not going to believe what I just found.
Let me go ahead and get the tape to put in between the lenses in your glasses,
Oh, I need to start reading these before Preston shoves me in a locker. Oh, no. All right. This one now, because I've been able to compare Lenore Sellers against not just all FBS quarterbacks or SEC quarterbacks, all Division I quarterbacks. And this is where it gets fun. Preston Thorne, out of all Division I quarterbacks with at least 100 dropbacks, we have to have some qualifiers here. Lenoris is 4th in the nation in pressure to sack percentage with 29.8%, meaning almost 30% of his dropbacks that are pressured turn into sacks. That is the 4th highest in the nation. And that is the thing he has to fix the most moving forward to maximize his already really good skill set.
Okay, that is counter to what makes him so special, because one of the things that makes Lenore special is that when he does get pressured, and unfortunately he does get pressured a lot because the offensive line struggles, is that he's able to make something out of nothing. This year, you've seen that a little bit less than we did last year. Kentucky was the first time we really start
spitting out of tackles.
We saw the thing that makes him special, but I can think of that. Obviously, the Missouri sack that he took, cannot take that sack, and then he took a bad one against Kentucky also, where he went backwards and backwards and backwards. But even then, I was still like, is something gonna happen?
Is he gonna do it? Is he gonna do? He's at the point now where it's like, is he gonna do it? Like as soon as he gets in that situation, you're like, wait, he might get himself out of this.
So his pressures this year are turning into sacks.
More so than last year.
That's not good.
And it's at the 4th highest rate of any quarterback in Division I football right now.
Okay.
But now the good Lenore Sellers stats I've been able to uncover. Out of all quarterbacks with at least 20 dropbacks in play action, Lenore Sellers is 3rd nationally in Division I, not just FBS, FCS too. 3rd nationally in yards per attempt at 15.1. Again, not per completion, per attempt. Behind only Liam Zarka at Air Force and Tommy Castellanos from Florida State. 3rd in play action efficiency. And then if you go and look and just to see for reference how frequently they do it, he only runs play action on about 30% of his passing plays. That is good out of all SEC starters. So quarterbacks who have started an SEC or started a game for an SEC team this year, which that list is probably about 18 or 19. He is 12th in percentage of play action dropbacks.
Those two numbers are incompatible.
It's like an ocean.
That is incompatible. You can't have somebody who is 3rd at being successful, but then at calling and running, they're all the way back at 12. To me, the offense gets better when you take what you're doing well and you do more of it. We've been calling for this, and now I have some nerdy numbers to back me up. So if I was a GA on the staff and I was trying to get in good graces of the coaches, I'd take this little nerdy number and I just put it on Mike Shula's desk and say, Coach, look what I found. Look what I found.
We knew they were good at play action, right? Our eyes have told us this the last few games. But now the number tells you are the third best in the nation at play action.
More, please.
More. Nothing confirmed my priors more than seeing that yesterday and being like, oh, man. I knew you were good at it. I didn't know you were that good at it. And again, you're third behind Air Force's quarterback. Shout out Liam Zarka, which, of course, play action at Air Force is kind of like really your only passing option. And Tommy Castellanos at Florida State, who's in an offense that in the Power 4 runs the ball a higher percentage than anybody else.
Right. Those are two distinct, and go back to offenses having identity. Obviously, if I say Air Force in your mind, you know that offense.
Triple option.
Now, you may not know Florida State's offense, but if I say Gus Malzahn's offense, you know that offense.
Mm-hmm.
And those are run-predicated offense, and based off the run, they throw the ball. Makes sense.
Those two need to run the ball well for play action. Here's the thing. You're not running the ball really well in a traditional run game, and you're still that good at play action. Now, we knew Vandrevis Jacobs has been really good the last couple of games. 2 straight 100-yard games. However, out of all receivers in D1 who have run at least 15 routes versus zone coverage, Vandrevis Jacobs is 11th nationally in yards per route run at 4.46. So those are all routes run, whether you are targeted or not. He's picking up 4.46 yards per route versus zone coverage. Utilizing him is a key to seeing more man-to-man coverages, which would then allow Lenora Sellers to run the ball more.
Okay. All right. Vandrevis has emerged as a serious threat with these last 2 games. By utilizing more play action, you control the numbers game, you get a safety into the box, you create more man-to-man opportunities for either Vandrevis, who I think is wide receiver 1, or your deep threat in Nick Harbor. So it still comes back to run the play action.
We went for run the ball to run the play action. Can I get like Ryan Tannehill saying that? Like that was like the one thing that like prolonged Ryan Tannehill's career is having Derrick Henry in the backfield, them using play action, them killing teams. Can we do a run the play action, Brent Key? Please, can you cut that for us? All right. Brandon Cisse, we know he's been really good in coverage, especially in that corner slot position or slot corner position. He is second in the SEC in run stops among defensive backs. Is he maybe the most underrated part of this defense?
Yeah, well,
second in the SEC amongst defensive backs and run stops.
This is good. This is important for a lot of reasons. One, I think mainly because it's a success out of the transfer portal that he's been successful in. That's going to be a huge thing moving forward. Yeah, he might be, because when he's been on the field, you haven't looked over there, you haven't seen him get beat deep in coverage. That dude against Virginia Tech made that awesome play, but it was well contested.
Guy made a play. Yeah.
Right, dude made a play. And he's out when everybody else was not tackling well. Brandon Cisse has been tackling well all season, so that makes sense.
I remember thinking in that Missouri and the Kentucky games the last 2 weeks, being like, is he your best overall tackler? Like pound for pound, the best tackler on the team?
Might be.
Maybe. And I love how they use him in blitzes. If you can blitz a corner, you can disguise a lot of stuff. And that's a defensive coordinator's dream. Steve Spagnuolo loves him some corners who can blitz because he loves to dial up some exotic blitzes.
Mm-hmm.
I think Brandon Cisse is a guy that allows you to do that, maybe more than some of the corners you've had.
Yeah, also, it's good. It's bad, but it's good, but it's bad because he has been ultra successful, and I think we were counting on Brandon to be here for 2 years, and I don't know about that.
I don't know. He keeps showing that, an ability to do that. The NFL likes those type of traits. Again, Steve Spagnuolo might be watching South Carolina tape and being like, I have many a use for this player right here. We like to do a segment called Run the Ball, and, well, South Carolina's traditional run game has not been good, but who has had the most lethal run game so far in the SEC, and where does South Carolina stack up in that? We'll discuss next here in the early game. Brent Key told us many moons ago that we have one assignment and one assignment only.
Run the ball.
That's what we're going to do here. We're going to do what, Brent Key?
Run the ball.
Oh, I can hear that all day. But South Carolina hasn't done it particularly well. And Preston, I even in the break uncovered something alarming. Because I told Preston that 11 running backs in the SEC have more yards after contact than anyone on South Carolina's roster has yards. Right? So you just take South Carolina's leading rusher, which for this year right now, I believe still Rasul Faison. Yes, at 163. There are 11 players in the SEC that have more than 163 yards after contact. Then we decided to look at Ahmad Hardy because his numbers are stupid. This guy is running the ball better than anyone has run the ball all year long and should be in Heisman talks. He's not right now, but he absolutely should be. Ahmad Hardy's got 551 yards after contact. And we're like,
slow down. He has 500 and how many?
51.
551 yards after contact.
After.
So we heard that. I heard that, and I said, Made me ask a question, and the question was,
does he have more yards after contact than South Carolina has rushing yards as a team? Remember that number. Ahmad Hardy, 551 yards after contact. South Carolina as a team, before and after contact, 499 rushing yards.
Oh, no.
I think that says a lot about two different entities here. It says a lot about Ahmad Hardy, and it says something about South Carolina's running game right now. The traditional running game, which they want to lean on, and when it comes to reflecting on the offense, maybe leaning on it might not be your greatest course of action. That might be one of your biggest sources of negative plays. We will revert back to 2 Clark Brooks visits ago from On3, SEC StatCat, who has told us that for the last 4 years, South Carolina has led the SEC in moving backwards. Now, last year they ran the ball a lot better because Rocket Sanders was an ace at getting the ball and getting yards after contact. You don't have that as much this year. Rocket Sanders, to quote Rick Pitino, ain't walking through that door. I think Rasul Faison's got a nice skill set. I like Oscar Attaway. Matt Fuller showed some promise in terms of getting some first downs in short yardage situations, and finally had a game where he could carry the ball 19 times. But the larger sample size is telling us that you cannot necessarily bank on running for what you want to run for in a traditional running game. And certainly their best running game last Saturday night against Kentucky was Lenore Sellers running the football. But the numbers are the numbers.
And to clarify those numbers, that was the running game, including Lenore Sellers.
Including, yes.
So that wasn't just, if you was to subtract Lenore Sellers, the numbers would be even more atrocious when you talk about the run game in particular and the running back. So when yesterday we talked about their grades overall as a group, that's why I graded them a D. And honestly, probably could be closer to an F because that's just unacceptable. As a group, nobody has stood up and taken the position by storm. And you're talking about yards after contact. So even if somebody hits you early, which unfortunately is a reality with the offensive line struggling, they're still not making people miss. They're still not running through tackles. They haven't done anything to be a threat in the offensive game.
Yeah, that hurts your offense a little bit. But here's the wild thing, and this goes back to the play action number earlier. This team has become like my ultimate guinea pig of my theory that you don't have to run the ball well in a traditional sense for play action to still work, because it's working at the third best, most efficient clip in America right now on play action. And your running game is how we've just described it. Doesn't have to be. It made sense. Like, just look at an early example of my career covering the Tennessee Titans in the late teens, if you will, when Derrick Henry was at the height of his powers. Ryan Tannehill on play action. Like, play action Ryan Tannehill that year was the best quarterback in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
It makes sense because they're loading the box, because there's a Yeti back there who is taking the ball and running over people and is the best running back in the National Football League. That made perfect football sense. You're running the ball that well, play action, of course, is going to work. But in this sense, Derrick Henry's not in this Carolina backfield, and you're still using play action to work. that well. It does all kind of tie in together a little bit.
So I don't know if you have this number in front of you, but when you're talking about overall as the SEC, where does South Carolina rank as far as the rushing game total? And you mean like if you have it, like the other top 3 rushing teams?
I was going to say South Carolina definitely at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they're at the absolute
bottom, but bottom enough.
They're on the bottom enough, right? But the 2 best overall rushing teams have definitely been, I would say, Missouri and Texas A&M, and then Ole Miss right below that, because Kawan Lacey's had a really good year. He's over 400 yards rushing this year already. He's got 304 yards after contact. And really, if we're talking about the 2 teams that run the ball and live by that ethos the best, Missouri and Texas A&M are the teams for you, which we've already faced Missouri. Got to go to Texas A&M this year. That's going to be another game where we're going to be recycling our phrase of running the ball and stopping the run whenever that A&M game comes around, going to be vital, because Le'Veon Moss, a little closer than the mirror may make him appear, right? Hour number 1 is in the books. Hour number 2 coming up next.
Still looking good out there on the highways this morning. No accidents to report. And it doesn't appear we have any significant slowdowns at this point. 77 our high today, 78 tomorrow. And next chance for some rain maybe coming in Sunday afternoon or evening. A little bit cooler this morning. It's 60 on 107.5 The Game.
Hour number 2 of the early game starts right now. I'm Elijah Campbell. He's Preston Thorne. She's Jen Jensen. And we are calling an audible. Our man Josh Harris joins us right now because it's the Corley Pool Solutions Checkered Flag Challenge. And I'm not doing a lot of checkered flagging at the moment. Not looking very good. Sorry, Bill. I tried. Preston is. He's
really he's really enjoying looking at that sheet. I mean, now if you look at how we all fared at Kansas, we were all within the top 10 as far as our picks were concerned. So
that's how it always works.
Again, but Josh and I are discussing some things that we need to bring to the early game committee as far as some changing in points and how we administer the points, because that way maybe it's a little more equitable and we can keep this a little bit closer.
I feel like anytime I get somebody in the top 10, anytime I do that, everybody else does too.
Exactly.
Else does too. I am snake bitten right now, and Josh's on the line with us right now because before we make picks, we're talking playoffs.
I know.
Playoffs? Channel my inner Jim Moray here.
What are you thinking about the playoff situation with one race to go before we get to the round of 8?
Well, I think just from the overall standings, I don't think there's any big surprises just based on where the round started. No major movement above and below the cut line. The guys that were close or below are still there. And, having Ryan Blaney and Chase Elliott take victories in the first 2 races of this round is no big surprise. But we had a phenomenal race at Kansas to get us to this point, and it certainly looked like for a long time in that race we were going to be talking about another Toyota win in the playoffs, which would have made 4 out of the first 5. And Chase Elliott came in there on that last restart and snuck it out among all those Toyotas. What an exciting race, exciting finish. And now we're set up and ready for the Roval.
And it's funny that once again, Denny Hamlin probably in the principal's office, last week or so with what happened with Ty Gibbs, and now this week a little bit with what's going on with what's his name? Bubba Wallace. That's him. Yeah.
Bubba Wallace.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And I understand Bubba's frustration. We also know that Denny Hamlin was having some power steering issues with his vehicle, so maybe he wasn't turning as well. He's still, at the end of the day, Denny has a job to do because he works for Joe Gibbs, even though he's the part owner of 2311. So I don't know that he necessarily was looking to nudge Bubba out, but I don't take it all out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah, I mean, they're racing hard and they're making decisions in split seconds. So, it's sometimes I think we forget that how quickly these guys are having to make moves, and they don't have a lot of time to really think about, what's about to happen, at least, the way we were able to digest it after the race. So if Denny went into any principal's office this week, it was probably his own or maybe Michael Jordan's. So I think that, he did what you want a race car driver to do, regardless of all the other circumstances, which is go for the win and not let any other factors really impact how you drive against your competitors. And I think it probably would have been a lot different conversation had he slowed up and let Bubba pass him or not raced him as hard as he did. Then it would have looked like he's just trying to, I don't know that manipulate is the right word here, but he's trying to get his driver in and he's willing to sacrifice his own win to do that. And I don't think that's what Denny would do, period. But 2, I don't think that we would want to be having that conversation either. No,
I agree with that. And I think Kevin Harvick put it well, with whatever Hamlin did, like especially with Ty Gibbs, if you're going to do that, then you better win. If you're going to make a power move like that, probably ought to win. But again, you're right. He has a boss that he's working for, so he has to me, that's kind of his priority. But that's certainly a challenge there. But yeah, when you look at the playoffs, looking at really, we have 3 Hendricks drivers. We have still 3 JGR drivers, 2 Penske's in there. No big surprises there as far as the playoffs are concerned. And I just don't know that I would have expected JGR to be quite so strong. But Joe Gibbs has had a really good pro season at this point.
Yeah, they have. I mean, they've showed up, when they got to Darlington, and ever since then they've been the team to beat, the organization to beat. And it's more Gibbs than it is Toyota as a whole, because obviously Bubba Wallace and Tyler Reddick had good runs at Kansas, but they haven't done enough to this point to be above the cut line. So you got to give Gibbs credit. And now we head into a track where a little bit more of a wild card, certainly a big opportunity for a non-playoff driver to get a win, since SVG is going to be favored. And then from that perspective, the guys below the cut line are going to have a long road ahead of them to try to advance if they don't get the win.
Yeah, I suspect with the Roval, there's going to be some strategies that are coming into play. Preston has a question.
I was just doing the preliminary research, and I saw SVG's name up there, and that led me to think, Roval, Road, Oval, is that what's going on here?
Yes, that is.
Okay, all right.
That is look at him.
Piece that one together.
All right.
It's at the Charlotte Motor Speedway.
Gotcha.
Would you like to explain it a little bit more as to what the configuration is, Josh?
Yeah, I mean, it's essentially, you've got it right. It's the road course and oval combined. So a number of the oval tracks that NASCAR races do have a road course built into their configuration in their infield. Daytona has one. The Rolex 24-hour race runs that course every year, among other things, motorcycles and whatnot. So it's a unique way to be able to run a race and hold a race at that track. And there's a lot of fans, especially with how well this car performs at the 1.5 mile tracks right now, would love to see Charlotte have 2 oval track races on the 1.5 mile track. But I think this adds an element of intrigue and another form of racing that in the playoffs these guys have to overcome and show that they've got the talent and the skills to advance as part of it.
Yeah, I was going to say it's been much more favored. They started doing the Roval back in 2018, and it's definitely, I think, gone over better in Indianapolis. They were doing the road course for several years, and to me that's just a historic. It's got to be the oval, and so people were very glad when they returned to that. But yeah, the Roval has definitely, I think, people have enjoyed it more, and Larson's won there a couple times. Blaney's won. Bell has won. Allmendinger, Chase Elliott's won a couple times. So you're seeing kind of fan favorites win this race. But again, looking at this week and looking at how dominant SVG's been, he definitely is a favorite in this. So I would think that those outside of the cut line, Chastain, Wallace, Reddick, and Cindric, going to be looking for some kind of unique pit strategies and things like that, just to see if maybe they can make their way to the top.
Yeah, I think pit strategy is going to play a big part in it. Those guys have to try to get stage points. I think, a lot of times with these road course races, we see teams kind of flip the stage. So they'll come in and they'll pit right before the end of stage 1. So it puts them out ahead at the beginning of the next stage. So I think there's going to be an opportunity maybe for some of these drivers to collect stage points. But then on that next restart, they're going to be a little bit further back in the field, and they're going to really have to work hard to try to catch up and get up there for the next one. But I think that's where some of those guys below the cut line have to work really hard. And if you take SVG out of the picture, Austin Cindric and Ross Chastain and Tyler Reddick, I have all done well on road courses in the past. So it's not out of the question that one of those guys could jump up there, get a win, and advance, and then we'd be looking at someone currently above the cut line that would not make it.
100%. So speaking of the Charlotte Roval and the final race in the round of 12, I guess at this point, what do you think? Do some picks?
Let's do it.
Corley Pool Solutions Checker Flag Challenge. So, yeah, as far as the standings are concerned, we're looking at Reggie. Seriously. His son keeps picking for him, so he's doing well. He has 116 points. Then we look at Mr. Preston sitting there at 106 and a pretty good little swagger going. Josh sitting at 101 and Belijah at 96. I just can't seem to get anything rolling, but I'm sitting at 93. So I'm going to need a win to really get me back into the fold or whatever. And I'm going to play the favorite. I'm going to go SVG because, I need to, which means he won't win. But I'll at least make the pick because, Kyle Larson should have done really well in Kansas and, ended up with a 6th place finish, which just was not good enough for me. So that takes us to Belijah.
All right. I'm looking for somebody who is desperate to win this, somebody who is near the cut line, who needs this, someone who has
Waltrip.
experience, like Daryl Waltrip. Just kidding. I'm afraid Daryl's not available. And
I don't think this week. Huh?
Yeah, I didn't see Bobby Labonte's name on here either. A little disappointing, but I will go with Joey Logano.
Oh, very nice.
I will take a blend of experience and desperation.
I think that sounds like a plan. Josh, who are you going with for the Roval?
Well, I think I'm going to go with a similar strategy, but I'm going to go with another Toyota, a guy who hasn't won all year, is desperate for a win. I'm going to go with Tyler Reddick.
Nice. Boy, I'll tell you what, he's had a lot on his plate, hasn't he?
He has. He has. I think it could be a feel-good story.
I agree. Just if you're not aware, Tyler Reddick has a 4-month-old son who is in the cardiac ICU in Charlotte. He has some potential heart issues going on. So, I'm sure it's going to be nice this week to be able to race close to home and all of that. So it definitely would be a feel-good favorite if he could end up winning. All right, Preston, who you have?
I'm going to take somebody who's been successful at the Roval. Give me AJ Allmendinger.
That's a good choice. He's a good road course driver. I can't talk and write at the same time, so I'll just put Dinger. Good enough.
Dinger. You know what that means.
Exactly. And as far as Reggie goes, I did not tell him we were picking a little bit early, so he'll get his. And who cares? He's winning anyway. We just need to not let him pick for a couple weeks.
Yeah, is it the worst thing in the world if he skips a week?
I think we all take a vote. It's 4-0.
Yeah,
he doesn't get
good.
picked this week.
Yeah, gets a 0. Didn't even get 1. He is 0 this week because even if he has a chance, it seems like he can get at least 3. So. Hey, Josh, we appreciate talking to you as always, and we look forward to seeing how things play out at the Roval. And before we know it, we'll be in the round of 8 and kind of getting down to the wire as to who's going to win the championship.
That's right. Looking forward to it. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks so much, Josh.
Appreciate it.
Good stuff.
Thank
Josh
you.
Harris, always a winner. He'll be a winner at the end of the show as well. But coming up next, it's the morning meeting, and usually we go through football is the main subject, but time for another subject in class because playoff baseball is here. And today we have 3 do or die games. One that's got Jen Jensen nervous. And don't ask me why there's not 4. The early game morning meeting. It's next. When it comes to the subject, since that's something we've been talking about, the subject of roofing and waterproofing, well, the chapter begins and ends with Mid-State Roofing, especially around here in the Midlands of South Carolina, because they've been doing it for 3 decades and being a leader in that. Look, it doesn't matter if it's high-rise, hospitals, manufacturing to industrial, Mid-State Roofing for this whole time has been designing and installing bonded systems with that protective guarantee to keep your operation dry and running long into the future. It's arguably the most important element of your building. My favorite thing about Mid-State Roofing, too, is sometimes when the need is urgent, right? When something goes wrong and you have the leak that requires Mid-State to take a peek, sometimes you need to be able to contact someone outside of business hours. And if you call 803-356-1919, you'll be able to speak to somebody when those urgent needs arise. Again, 803-356-1919 or online at midstateroofing.com.
We do have some slow traffic, I-26 eastbound between Piney Grove Road and I-20, so just anticipate that. I-26 eastbound at Bush River Road, exit 1088. The center lane is blocked, so be mindful of that if you would. 77 for a high today, but the overnight low, 55. So a little bit cooler tomorrow. 78 tomorrow, low 80s for Saturday and Sunday. Maybe some showers rolling in later on Sunday. But we're starting off definitely cooler than we were yesterday. It's 60 right now on the early game.
Time to introduce a new subject, because in the early game morning meetings, sometimes the subject is football. Oftentimes, the subject is football. But every now and then, teacher hands out a new textbook, and we are introduced to something a little new. And today, it's playoff baseball.
Good morning. Good morning. Repeat after me. Today will be an awesome day. Let's go. Good morning, great today. Today will be an awesome day.
Well.
Good morning, great today. Today will be an awesome day.
Oh, yes, it will, because today we have 3 do-or-die baseball games on TV. 3 of them.
Now, to make sure let's go back to the beginning. So when you're saying do or die, we are talking about the wild card series.
Correct.
Okay.
So in Major League Baseball, if you haven't kept up with baseball in a while, or if you're just being introduced to playoff baseball, you play 162 games in the regular season. It is a marathon. There are 3 divisions in each league. The winner of the 3 divisions automatically in the playoffs. The division winners with the 2 highest or best records in each league are not participating in the wild card round. They're already in the divisional series. So the wild card consists of the team with the worst record of the division winners against the 3 best non-division winners. So seed 3 plays seed 6, seed 4 plays seed 5, and they play in a best of 3 series, meaning the first team to win 2 games gets to advance to the divisional series and play one of the teams that did not participate this week.
3 days in a row.
3 days in a row.
That's cool.
It's exciting.
It's this marathon, and then all of a sudden it's urgency.
Yes. Yes.
Which is, I've always been curious about how that works with like baseball players, because you do play with it's such a marathon. There's so much monotony in playing 162 games. It is a true marathon that turns into a sprint.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And like the human body naturally is not meant to run 26 some odd and some change miles and then have to run as fast as you can right after that.
Mm-hmm.
That is what they do in Major League Baseball. And to catch everybody up, the series, Dodgers, Reds, Tigers, Guardians, Padres, Cubs, Red Sox, Yankees. We get a Red Sox, Yankees best of 3 series to end one of their seasons. It's fantastic. On Tuesday night, Tuesday during the day, Tigers beat the Guardians in Game 1. Cubs beat the Padres in Game 1. Red Sox beat the Yankees in Game 1. Dodgers beat the Reds in Game 1. Meaning, those teams that I just alluded to that were losers had to win yesterday to force a Game 3. The Reds were the only team not to do so. R.I.P. We were here for a good time, not a long time. Dodgers break out the brooms. They get to play the Phillies starting Saturday. And Shohei Ohtani, the best player in baseball, a guy who not only hit 55 home runs this year, and leader in the pack for NL MVP again. But he'll be making his playoff pitching debut on Saturday. He'll be starting Game 1 in Philly.
Against Bryce Harper and them boys.
Yeah.
2 phenomenons, 2 dudes who are who we thought they were.
Exactly who we thought they were, who lived up to the hype that they had going into the season. So the Dodgers completed the sweep. The Tigers did not, because the Guardians won 6-1. The Cubs, unfortunately for Jen, did not.
shutout.
They lost 3-0. And Mason Miller threw a pitch 104.5 miles an hour.
I mean, how does that even happen?
Humans
How is
should
his
be
arm
allowed to do that.
attached?
Yeah, and again, if you're just tuning back into baseball, this is happening. 100 is not what 100 used to be. It's like a dollar bill. Used to be able to get a lot with $1. 100-mile-per-hour baseball used to just guarantee that it was going to be a strikeout. Not anymore.
Well, no, because I mean, in college, it's like, okay, if you're not throwing in the 90s, you're average.
Yeah.
Correct.
You know, so like,
Yeah, velocity is crazy.
Yeah.
right
Velocity is king, and inflation does not just hit our finances. It hits baseball because, again, 100 miles per hour is not as much of a guarantee.
now. Ain't what it used to be.
No. And Mason Miller clocked out at 104.5 yesterday.
Craziness. Absolute craziness. And of course, we were on the receiving end of that.
We were watching the highlights in here, and Preston were like, how do you hit that?
Yeah. I
what's
mean, how do you see?
No chance.
I couldn't see that. My God. It was brutal. But the Cubs have a chance for redemption today to be able to move on. And then the Yankees last night tied at 3 in the 8th inning. Jazz Chisholm hauls tail, rounding third, gets home, beats the throw. The Yankees take a lead into the 9th inning. Red Sox go down in order, and the Yankees force a Game 3, which means today, starting at 3 o'clock on ABC, Tigers, Guardians, winner advances. Padres, Cubs, winner advances. And
fun.
Red Sox, Yankees
That's
in
fun.
New York, winner advances.
That's a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun. I have a really good friend that she was a roommate of mine at Butler and huge Guardians fan. So, like, she's all in.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, when we beat them for the World Series, sorry,
Ooh, that
Patty.
was tough.
Yeah,
That
it
was
was-
tough.
Jen and Patty, not friends that week.
No.
Which,
But it was good.
on the subject of playoff baseball, I think that might be my favorite World Series of all time
Okay.
because of how that goes.
Okay.
Two franchises that, for one, hadn't won a World Series in over a century,
Mm-hmm.
and another one that hadn't won it since, World War II?
Yeah, something
Or
like that.
before World War II. I think it might be the Vanderbilt thing. Remember how earlier in the week I said Vanderbilt had as many 5-0 starts as we have had World Wars
Right.
since 1940? The same thing applied to Cleveland baseball, right? Same principle applied there. So you had two teams, the longest streak in the sports history of not winning a title. Something had to give. Cleveland goes up 3-1, and then Chicago magically wins 3 straight. And that Game 7 went to extra innings.
It couldn't have been. And I still say we had lost my dad about a month before all that. I still say he was pulling strings somewhere because, he was a huge Cubs fan. I remember watching some of the postseason stuff with him. And, yeah, so I'm going to say Ronald,
Absolutely.
he gets credit.
I think Ronald got a ring for that one.
Yeah, he did.
They found a way to get him a ring.
golden ring.
Yeah, to help them win that World Series. That, to me, my favorite World Series ever.
Yeah, that was a good series.
Just with narrative, almost all the games were really close.
Yeah.
That Game 7 goes to extra innings. You couldn't have phased that out better, and that was like the perfect kind of microcosm of how stressful playoff baseball is.
Yeah.
I kind of wanted the Cubs to win, but I was like, I'm cool with whatever result here.
Whatever happens.
And I think a lot of people who didn't have a dog in the fight really felt that way with that particular series because of, like you said, just all of the storylines. That was a really good series.
And even if you're a neutral observer,
Yeah, exactly.
every game you're at the edge of your seat. Like that's
what you want.
yeah, and that's what
and that's
baseball is.
the whole thing is like if you're just coming in as a casual observer, you have to figure out, okay, who do I want to cheer for, or what's the narratives that I want to pick up or figure out. So we might have to work through those things, I guess, once the games are decided today, and maybe give some folks, if you want to tune in, here are a couple of different reasons why you may or may not cheer for these teams that are advancing forward.
Yes, and we'll definitely revisit it once the divisional series
Once the divisional
is
series.
set. But I think right now I'm leaning whoever wins Padres Cubs is who I'm jumping on the bandwagon for. I want to say it's probably the case. 'Cause I guess I don't love a lot of the teams in the American League or the Mariners, because the Mariners also, you want to talk about a good story, never won a World Series.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe one of the most, in terms of franchises that have been around for as long as they have, since the 60s, I guess. I think they moved in 1959 is when they became the Mariners. They have never won, I don't think they've ever even won a playoff series. They might have gone to the ALCS once. I might have to double check that. definitely never even been to the World Series. One of the few franchises to have never even been to a fall classic. And this year, they have the big dumper, presumed AL MVP, 60-plus home run guy in Cal Raleigh, breaking records.
I don't know if you've been paying attention to baseball. You may have not. There's a catcher named the Big Dumper who hit 60 home runs. What are we talking about?
How do you not love the guy? How do you not love the guy?
He's a catcher.
A catcher hitting 60-plus
That's
home
wild,
runs
man.
with a nickname like the Big Dumper. He won the home run derby. He's become America's sweetheart over the summer. And he's leading the Seattle Mariners to not just the playoffs. They didn't have to play in the wild card because they were so good in the regular season. Something Seattle baseball just has not had the luxury of getting to participate in frequently. That was our morning meeting, taking a look at the Major League Baseball playoffs. We'll be keeping tabs on that as this thing continues to progress. And remember, 3 do-or-die baseball games starting at 3 o'clock today. It's a great day for sports. But coming up next, it's the Early Game Underdog Challenge. And as Nick Harvey walks in, Team WIS made some moves. We'll tell you how many coming up next.
Slow traffic, I-26 eastbound between Piney Grove Road and I-20. So it's kind of stop and go in there. Also, I-26 eastbound at Bush River Road, the center lane is currently blocked. So obviously, stay at the right, stay to the left. Just be a little careful out there. Breezy at times, 77 for the high, a 78 tomorrow. Low 80s for the weekend with some afternoon or evening showers possible for your Sunday. Cooler start to your morning, 60 currently on 107.5 The Game.
You know, when you score 16 points in a weekend, you get the music coming into the early game underdog challenge, because Team WIS on a heater as Nick Harvey joins us this morning to represent them.
I am feeling it right now. I'm on cloud 9. What a weekend for Team WIS.
It was so far on the season to date, that is the third most points anybody has scored in a total week this season. First was Jen in week 4 when she had Syracuse plus 16.5 and the Lions plus 4.5 against the Ravens. Second was Team WIS in week 3, who had 17 when they took New Mexico plus 15.5 at UCLA and the Colts plus 1.5 against the Broncos. This week, in order to get 16, Virginia Tech at NC State. That was a 9.5 pointer. And then in Jackson Dart's first start, that rhymed, they beat the Chargers. That's good for 6.5. So a 16-point week. But also, for the first time this year, everybody got at least one game correct.
Everybody's on the board.
Everybody was on the board in week 5. Jen got 3.5 from Oregon, picking off Penn State in double overtime. Preston got 6.5 from Illinois, surviving a comeback scare from Southern Cal. And I got Virginia plus 6.5 in a thrilling double overtime, field storming, chaotic bonanza against Florida State.
Good for us. Huh?
We're on a roll.
How about that?
Look
Good
at
for
us.
Look at us. Who'd have thought?
We're getting the hang of this whole thing right here. So without further
No, we're just having some luck. That's really
we're getting a lot more lucky. As in, I know my game took a lot of luck and maybe an officiating error to be able to help pull that one off. And reminder, you can play along with us too. And shout out to our winner last week. That would be Case. Case took Illinois plus 6.5 and the Giants at plus 6.5. That's good for 13 points. Case was our winner. Case will be reaching out to you in regards to a prize. You can play along 803-404-6100 on the Firehouse Subs text line, where you text it in. You need a college game, an NFL game. If we pick a game, you can pick it too. Your pool is fully open to whichever ones you want. And your underdog must win outright. We use ESPN Bet for the point spreads. Your underdog wins outright. You get the amount of points that they are underdogs by. And for instance, like when Team WIS picked Virginia Tech at NC State, Virginia Tech won outright. They were 9.5 point underdogs. Team WIS gets 9.5. One college, one NFL game. So for week 6, the order goes Jen, Preston, myself, Team WIS. That's for the college. For NFL round, Team WIS will pick first, then myself, then Preston, then Jen. So with that being said, Jen Jensen, you are on the clock for the first college game this week.
I am swinging big.
Oh, she's big game hunting.
Somebody's defense has struggled just a little bit. I don't care for the team that is picked to win. I'm going to go with Boise State over Notre Dame.
Oh, that is big game hunting. That's good because Boise State is plus 20.5 in South Bend. So Jen Jensen.
It's a very dangerous pick and probably not going to serve me well, but Maybe a little Boise magic. I don't know.
In weeks like this, when we're looking at the slate and we're like, it's maybe a down week in college football, that's when the flukiness happens. That's when the weird stuff comes to fruition. So that leads us to Preston Thorne.
I'm debating between two games right now, and I think I'm going to go for the bounce back, the quote machine himself.
Ooh.
The Orangeman.
Oh, Fran Brown.
Fran Brown and the boys. Give me the Orangeman over SMU. We'll see how that goes.
Fran Brown and them boys taking on SMU this weekend. They are 17.5-point underdogs.
Big one.
Another big game hunting.
See, we're feeling like, big swings this week. Go big or go home.
I have another big one. I won't see if anybody else is going to take it, but I had another one.
I feel like that's almost disrespectful to Syracuse to be favored to lose.
It kind of seemed weird. I mean, they did get
I know they got a backup, but he played pretty well last weekend, I thought.
Yeah, they end up getting beat pretty good to Duke.
Yeah.
They have some identity to find. However, with a coach like Fran Brown, I think you can trust that identity. I had one game that I really wanted, and I'm glad it got to me, but at the same time, everybody's big game hunting, and it makes me almost inspired. But I think I'm going to lay up here just because the one big game I have is on the road, and I've got a principle that the home dogs bark the loudest, even if they're terrapins, even if there's turtles. Fear the turtle. Maryland, plus 6.5. Home against Washington. I'm not a big believer in Washington. They are better than they were last year. But Maryland's got a true freshman quarterback with an 8-to-1 touchdown interception ratio. He's playing really well right now. Maryland playing really well right now. So, give me the Terps at plus 6.5 against the Huskies.
Starting to believe in a quarterback up in Charlottesville. I think it's kind of disrespectful to me that the Hoos are favored to lose when they go to Louisville this weekend. And we're taking Virginia at plus 6.5 against the Cards.
That quarterback would be U-Haul All-American Chandler Morris.
check his birth certificate.
He's played a lot of college football. He has been everywhere, man. Chandler Morris, and also, they sling the rock really well. Telling you, Virginia's passing game is really good. Tony Elliott has now finally got a group that really wants to do what he wants to do as an offensive coordinator. I think that's a really good pick right there. I had that one number 2 on my list in case I didn't get the Terps.
Did anybody consider the Wake Forest and Virginia Tech game?
As you see, number 3 on my list.
Okay.
Wake Forest at Virginia Tech. I thought about it.
I thought about that one.
I also was looking at Mississippi State plus 14.5 at A&M.
Also on my list.
That was one I considered.
When everybody started going big game hunting, I'm like, oh, do I want to take a swing at that one? If that game was in Starkville, I would say.
Exactly.
If that game was in Starkville, I think I would have pulled the trigger on that one. So that takes us to the NFL. Team WIS, you have the first crack at it.
Let me see what we got here. Consulted with the group. Yeah. We're going to take the Tampa Bay Buccaneers plus 3.5 at Seattle.
Buccaneers plus 3. See, that I had my eye on that one because I still believe in the Buccaneers. And if it wasn't for a block punt to get them in the hole early, then maybe they would have been in better shape against the Eagles. I mean, the Eagles, if you told me to go into that game, too, the Eagles would only have 200 yards of total offense, I'm like, yes, those are free points right there. Not end up being the case. And for the NFL, the home dogs bark the loudest. I kind of like the Jacksonville Jaguars this year.
What are you people doing to me?
I kind of like the Jags. My brother's a Jags fan, so I think this is more so for him. But the Jags defense playing really good. Kansas City's offense is starting to click. But Devin Lloyd, maybe the most improved defensive player in the NFL, especially in coverage, he's up there. Give me the Jags plus 3.5 against the Chiefs on Monday Night Football. That takes us to Preston.
I'm going big game hunting for the NFL. This is big game for the NFL. Taylor 2 quarterbacks. One I believe in, one I do not. Give me the Tennessee Titans to get off the schneid, get a dub versus the Cardinals. Just don't believe in Kyler Murray.
The Titans are 7.5-point dogs at the Cardinals. And, luckily for you, I picked ahead of you, and I wasn't going to take the Titans because I have permanently put the Titans on my do-not-pick list for the rest of the year. It's not a long list, but my patience has run thin, and I am no longer.
Understand.
I can't justify picking them again this year. So the Titans and Cam Ward plus 7.5, and that leads us to Jen to round us out.
Yeah, a little bit bigger on the pick here. Bills defense maybe struggling just a little bit. I don't know. So I'm going to take the Patriots over the Bills. 7.5.
At 7.5 too. The 7.5 pointer is very valuable in this contest. So she goes Patriots at 7.5.
Since 2 of my picks are already taken off the board. So, Sorry.
Oh, that'll be fun. That's the Sunday night football game too.
Yeah.
So that
That'll be fun.
Drake May, frisky. Do I know if he's good yet? Not quite, but frisky, and we'll take frisky. So to recap, Jen takes Boise State plus 20.5 at Notre Dame and the Patriots plus 7.5 against the Bills. Preston takes Syracuse plus 17.5 against SMU and the Titans plus 7.5 at the Cardinals. I take Maryland plus 6.5 against Washington and the Jags plus 3.5 against the Chiefs. And Team WIS, the leader in the pack, plus 6.5 at Louisville and Buccaneers plus 3.5 at the Seahawks. Oh, yeah, standings. Team WIS, 33 points. Jen, 24.5. I have 19.5. And Preston at 17.5. So far, it feels like Preston and I are cooked because we're falling behind. But who is cooked in college football? We do that next. Dang it. I knew I was up against the clock. I was so close.
Jen, is there still a chance?
The grill is undefeated this year. Because on who is cooked this week, we've been kind of steering this one, telegraphing a little bit. Arkansas. We put Sam Pittman on there. We put the Hogs on there. They had a chance to beat Ole Miss, couldn't do it late. They go to Memphis, and they get upset by a team in the American Conference. Oh, yeah, and the national runner-up comes into your building the next week. Well, maybe performing well would keep our boy Sam not off the grill, but maybe turning it down a little bit, right?
Cool zone. Put him in the cool zone.
He'd go into the cool zone. No. Narrator, that is not what happened. They got beat 56-13, and the score was actually not indicative of how far apart those two teams are right now, and it was ugly. And now Bobby Petrino, the Grim Reaper, takes over as interim head coach. Sam Pittman is now fully cooked and served.
Yeah, and the grill's been undefeated, man. We've put some folks on the grill not knowing what was going to happen, and they've gotten cooked. So with that being said, who you got for this week?
Not just Mark Stoops, because I think Mark Stoops keeps his job, because the real entity here that is cooked is Kentucky's athletic department. Because not only do you, in a football sense, you must move on from Mark Stoops. The ship has run its course. You are not getting any better. You are falling further behind in the sport of football, but you can't fire him, because if you fire him this year, you owe him $40 million due in 60 days. Elijah, college football is a big money business. College athletics in the SEC, big money business. Well, Kentucky, in terms of athletics, has a big project coming up where they want to do renovations. That's going to cost a lot of money, and they're kind of operating at a loss. They're in a position where they can't afford to drop $40 million in 60 days. So, unfortunately, they can't be with the one they love, so they have to love the one they're with.
Yeah, and as you were saying, I didn't think you was going to do Stoops. I just thought you was going to say the Kentucky quarterbacks as a whole staff, label, and crew, because
Cursed position.
Cutter Boley is last, 68th out of 68 Power 4 quarterbacks. That is a bad spot to be in.
Yeah. Bill Connolly from ESPN ranked all 68. We're going to get to that full list to start hour number 3.
Ugh, not a good thing. Unfortunately, this is very unfortunate. This is sad because he doesn't deserve this.
Oh, you're Wesley Snipes memeing right now.
No, I'm not even doing that, because I don't particularly like him. I'm just saying he doesn't deserve this, because he's just coming off a huge win against Kirby Smart. But I'm here to tell you.
Oh.
If Kalen DeBoer drops this game this weekend against Vandy at home again for the second time in a row, put him on the grill.
So he's not in the freezer. He's thawing right now.
He's thawing out right now, and it's unfortunate. It really is.
The nature of that job.
But the nature of the job lends to if you lose to Vandy again at home this time. Oh.
For the first time since 1984 at that. That would be the first time Vanderbilt has won a game in Tuscaloosa since '84.
And here's the wild thing about that one. If that were to happen, it would come under the exact same circumstances as last year. You get the win that tells the world you're back. You beat Georgia. And what do you do immediately after? Lose to Vandy. They're coming off a win at Georgia. They have the exact, this is the redemption zone right here for Alabama. This game is massive for them.
I'm about to utter some words I've never uttered before.
Oh, let's do it. Let's utter them.
I think I'm cheering for Bama.
Oh, don't say that. Don't say that.
I think I'm cheering for. I don't know. I'm working through my feelings.
Did you cheer
on
for
this.
Anakin Skywalker to slay the younglings in Star Wars Episode 3? Because that's what you're coming off as right now. That's what I'm hearing. It's the vibe I'm getting.
I'm not trying to play devil's advocate here. But let's weigh the options here. Diego Pavia.
That's what I'm saying.
Alabama.
That's what I'm saying.
I kind of like Alabama a little more than Diego Pavia.
But you have to recuse yourself from this discussion.
I do. Yeah, I do. I can't cheer. I can't cheer for Alabama. I just can't.
It's fair.
It's one of those things. It's like, Elijah, there's a gun to your head. You have to give out an RT audibly to keep me from pulling this trigger. That's when I say goodbye to my loved ones.
Peace out.
Sorry. Can't do it.
Julia Westerman, probably the biggest Alabama fan that I know personally, besides a close friend at home, is real excited about this one.
Ugh.
Redemption's on the way.
And
It's going to be a good game.
Vanderbilt's always kind of just been that school that I've always wanted to see be good because it'd always be funny if they were good. Now is their chance. But before we get out, I also want to put Auburn on the grill. Lost again. Lost to Texas A&M, and they got to go to Georgia next. They go 3-3. Hugh Freeze might start to thaw out a little bit because that grill's going to be warming up. Hour number 3 coming up next. Oh, man, I got to tell you about my friends over at Pro Swing. It is an incredibly fun experience. Even if you're not an avid golfer, I wouldn't consider myself an avid golfer, but I have spent many a day over at Pro Swing and getting to play on those Golf Zone simulators, and it's an absolute blast. They got the bar in there. They have TVs all over the place so you can keep up with other things going on, and I have Golf Zone simulators and everything there to show me how bad my swing is so I can even make more fun of myself whenever I do completely chop out a ball and embarrass myself in front of other people, but it's a lot of fun, and if you are a serious golfer, then I highly recommend going and taking advantage of the free 30-minute swing evaluation, where you can get a blueprint of your swing, get a couple of pointers and drills to work on, and be able to take your game to the next level. They also have lesson packages for beginners to scratch golfers and from kids to adults for the young golfer in your life, too. Give them a call today, 803-592-3916, or go to ProSwingColumbia.com.
Heavy traffic I-20 eastbound between Bush River Road and I-26, sort of standard, but definitely is heavy this morning. Also, the center lane is blocked I-26 eastbound at Bush River Road. And I-26 eastbound between Piney Grove and I-20, also a lot of heavy traffic flow at this point. And we are looking for a high today of 77, but that overnight low might require a jacket. 55 overnight. Tomorrow, 78 for the high. By Sunday, might see a couple afternoon showers, but right now, it's almost 10 degrees cooler than it was yesterday morning. 59 on 107.5 The Game.
Hour number 3 of the early game starts right now. I'm Elijah Campbell. He's Preston Thorne. She's Jen Jensen, and he is Nick Harvey from Team WIS, hanging along with us up until 9 o'clock. And you know what? Lists aren't just for the preseason because things change, things happen. We get sample size. Our priors get confirmed or denied. We already had one list. Preston and I unveiled our rankings and our re-ranking of the SEC based off of what we had from the beginning of the season. And Bill Connolly on ESPN does a fantastic job with the numbers. Maybe in terms of football statistics in the college world, the best at the best. The inventor of the SP Plus model, which is essentially, I would say, college football's version of KenPom. It's really good, a good reflection of how efficient you are on an offense and defensive basis. Well, he ranked all 68 quarterbacks in the FBS, or in the Power Four, not just the FBS, the Power Four specifically. Where does he have Lenora Sellers? I was really intrigued by this because he started off the story with mentioning, before he got to the rankings, Bill Connolly wrote about how a lot of the quarterbacks we would have had at the top of this list going into the season are not at the top of this list. It has kind of been the year of the quarterback disappointment, but he only alludes to Arch Manning, to DJ Lagway, to Garrett Nussmeier, to Drew Aller, to Cade Klubnik. He didn't mention Lenora Sellers, so that immediately got me intrigued. I was like, well, where does he have Lenoris on this list? He's got him at 27, which I found to be interesting. And before we go in on that, I'll read you what his write-up was. Quote, he is getting no help from a dreadful run game, and sacks remain a devastating issue. South Carolina ranks 126th in pressure rate allowed, which is potentially on the offensive line, and 119th in sacks per pressure, which is on Sellers. But he is still a playmaker. He averages 15.3 yards per completion. That's 9th in the country, with only 1 interception and 9.2 yards per scramble. Both flaws and upside remain obvious. So with that being said, with all of us watching what Lenora Sellers has done so far this season, is Bill Connolly overrating, underrating, or have Lenora Sellers just right?
Okay.
Preston, his thoughts.
I think this number is bogus. However,
Okay.
I do think that write-up is accurate.
Yes, the write-up is very accurate.
So I'm in 100% with the agreement with the write-up. I don't think 27. I don't feel that way.
No, I don't feel it either. Just from watching what he's done with this offense, because if you take him out of the offense, I think there is a clear drop off. And there are other quarterbacks on this list where I think you could take the quarterback out of the equation, and I don't know if that changes the success of the team or not.
I agree with that. I completely agree with Preston. I think the write-up's accurate. I think he could be higher on this list.
Certainly. Let's take a look at some of the quarterbacks ahead of him. 26 is Marcel Reed at Texas A&M. I've arguably been one of the biggest Marcel Reed truthers on the planet. I've been watching him since he was young and in high school. Been covering him for a long time. As much as I like Marcel Reed, as much as I think he has made a really good jump this year in terms of what his accuracy is and how more lethal he has been with the downfield passing game, they finally kind of unleashed that because they went big game hunting in the portal at receiver. And I think that's helped a ton. Would I trade Lenora Sellers for Marcel Reed? No. I don't even have to think about that. Above Marcel Reed, Dylan Raiola at Nebraska. Would I trade Lenora Sellers for Dylan Raiola? No. Would I trade Lenora Sellers for Iowa State's Rocco Becht? Absolutely not. Would I trade him for TCU's Josh Hoover? Absolutely not. Darian Mensah at Duke? No. Sawyer Robertson at Baylor? No. Gunnar Stockton at Georgia? Still no. The Bo Pribula being top 20 is a little head-scratching to me. Bo Pribula's played well. And I like Bo Pribula.
He's been fine, but also we just spent one of our segments talking about how Mard Hardy has 1 million yards after contact in the running game.
The gap between number 1 and number 2 in yards after contact in the SEC amongst running backs is more akin to the Grand Canyon than anything else. I think that team is really good because they have 2 incredible running backs, and they run the ball better than anybody else in the country right now.
So if we flip this question on its head, who in the SEC, because I'm looking at these guys that are going through, that are ranked higher than Lenoris, obviously, according to Bill Connolly, and again, I think the write-up was accurate. who would trade their quarterback? A lot of these people would trade their quarterback for Lenoris, whereas we would say, I don't think so. Bo Pergula, Joey Aguilar, he has a different skill set, so maybe. But the one that really got me was Taylor Green at 14. I was like, come on.
Oh, yeah. Again.
He may have just got his coach fired. Or hired.
Or hired. I mean, and Taylor Green, like, it's one of those, like, the skill set jumps off the page. He looks the part. And I think Taylor Green is one of the best quarterbacks in the SEC. Been saying that one. However, I've watched enough Arkansas football this year to have at least 5 moments where I have sat and watched him throw a ball and say, where the hell are you throwing that ball, son? I have not had that with Lenoris Sellers so far this year, from where I can recall. The one interception from Lenoris, and Preston and I, we talked about this off air, he got duped.
Yeah.
On that Vanderbilt play. Vanderbilt, I thought, did an incredible job disguising the coverage. Yes, Lenoris would want that one back. But that's one of those, I can't just be like, terrible decision, right? Maybe could have thrown the ball a little bit better. Maybe could lead the running back a little bit better. Or maybe, you see that defensive lineman drop back in coverage and you just wait an extra split second to make the throw. There's a couple of ifs and ands that go into that equation. But Lenoris Sellers as a decision maker leaps and bounds better than Taylor Green as a decision maker in the offense, which is a big part of quarterbacking. But looking at the list too, I mean, Chandler Morris is really good. That offense fits him really well. John Mateer's been really good. Would I trade Lenoris Sellers for Ohio State's Julian Sand? No. I still don't think I'd do that if I have to answer this honestly.
I think it's very interesting when you look at the top of this list and see who's listed at number 2. I think he's earned maybe like a top 10, top 15 spot. I don't know that I'd put him as one of the top 2 quarterbacks right now.
Because that would be Diego Pavia.
Yeah.
At 2. And I understand, too, the premise of the list isn't most untradeable quarterbacks, because then the list might look different, right? Because Lenoris Sellers, from a raw skill set perspective, as gifted as anyone in college football, maybe more. And I would not disagree with that sentiment. And a lot of these guys are in positions where the offense really fits their specific skill set and they really get to shine, right? Like Jaden Maiava. Jaden Maiava at Southern Cal is not throwing for 1,500 yards in this offense. He's not doing that here. At Southern Cal, Lincoln Riley puts him in position to sling the ball down the field, and they got a wide receiver in Mekhi Lemon, who on the Athletics Heisman straw poll, which we will get to because we will give out our Sept Heisman now that we are into October. Mekhi Lemon got a vote in a Heisman straw poll, and I can't completely disagree because his numbers jump off the page, and he was incredible against Illinois. But I think if we do the whole classic sports talk radio thing of if you put this player here, does the same thing happen? We're having a different conversation about that. I think where I think he is underrating Lenoris Sellers is the value part, right? I think Lenoris Sellers' value to his offense is heavier than maybe the value to the offense on some of these other guys. Diego Pavia maybe as an exception.
I would say he's the only one who's more valuable to his offense than Lenoris, in my opinion, because a lot of these other players could be interchangeable with, well, okay, let me do this. Diego Pavia, John Mateer, then Lenoris.
We're about to really see with John Mateer, aren't we? Because Michael Hawkins is going to have to play quarterback for a couple of games. He gets one against Kent State. Congratulations. We can chalk that one up as a win. But Michael Hawkins is going to have to play the Texas game.
And that's going to be a dogfight, too.
And
what a way to welcome him into the starting role.
Yeah.
Truly welcome him into the starting role, I should say.
Is to play Texas. And there's a good chance. We will know a lot more when the time comes if he is forced to play, if Michael Hawkins has to be the starting quarterback when Oklahoma comes to town here, because that's who they have after Texas. That one, maybe Mateer's back, but then I don't know the extent of what the injury was or what the hand procedure is. I don't know what that looks like, right? So that's a big if. But we're going to see more about the John Mateer thing. Like Fernando Mendoza on this list, top 5 guy. I can accept that because Mendoza's having an incredible year. And Dante Moore at Oregon, I think 5 might be underrating him. I think he might be number 1 to me so far in terms of who has had just the best display of quarterbacking in college football this year.
I think it's also interesting if you look at the latter half of the list to see where Cade Klubnik is is drawn into this.
Oh, buddy.
I gotta scroll down.
You do. You go a while.
Keep scrolling.
Wow.
Because at the beginning of the year, I think he had Cade Klubnik number 1.
Keep scrolling.
And you get to 35.
Finally made it.
Still not there. Garrett Musnire's at 37.
Yeah.
Arch Manning's at 41. Jackson Arnold at Auburn is at 43.
Still scrolling.
Still scrolling. It takes a while. 54 is where you find Cade Klubnik. 54. He ranked 68. 54. He's not ranking all quarterbacks in FBS because there are some G6 quarterbacks that you would definitely put above Cade Klubnik. Parker Navarro at Ohio, I would definitely put up there. He's probably the best quarterback in the G6. He's a really good quarterback. But to have Cade Klubnik fall this far is fascinating. Here's the write-up on Klubnik. It's just shocking how poor Clemson's passing game has been this year. Klubnik ranks 93rd in yards per dropback, 102nd in success rate, and 96th in interception rate. He's facing blitzes constantly behind a banged-up offensive line. The run game has been wholly mediocre, and he's firing short and mostly ineffective passes. He posted a 78.7 total QBR in 2024, but he hasn't topped 60 in a 2025 game yet. This has been an utterly disastrous September.
And on top of that, all of those numbers that you just heard, there was an article or a blurb yesterday that came out that he 100% missed two huge reads where it was run pass option. He kept, and not saying that he's not beaten the allegations of trying to play hero ball.
No, he has not beaten those at all.
Right? There has not been a time where he's missed the read giving it instead of keeping it. He's always going to keep it.
He likes to keep it.
And he did that twice in last week's game, and it's been ineffective for him. So not only is he playing poorly physically, but he's not playing well mentally either. And that's a huge issue when he was supposed to be the driver of this whole situation.
Most important jobs at quarterbacking, obviously the physical tools are something that are needed, but you can negate not having some of those physical tools if you're a great decision maker. So much of quarterbacking is point guarding your offense, to use a basketball term. And he's not point guarding the offense really well because of the decision making. Again, that's reflected in the 2 plays that you alluded to earlier in the season where he has made some just bad decisions on RPOs. And also, that's reflected in the interception rate. There are, 136 teams in FBS, and he ranks 96th in interception rate. Sometimes you can throw a pick and another team dupes you, or another team makes a really good play in the secondary. But a lot of throwing picks can be just bad decision making. And I think the bad decision making fuels that number a whole lot. And what you mentioned with the RPO also, those are 2 things where the common denominator is decision making.
And you don't want to be having this discussion about somebody who is a 4th-year player who's been around the game, been in the same program. He's not as if he's changing offenses. He's been in the same system. So that is something that maybe they'll get corrected now. I know we're going to talk about that game later, but he has to get that done or else he's not beating allegations, and he is who we thought they were.
He absolutely is. If I told you at the beginning of the year that Bill Conley was going to do this list at the end of September and he'd have Robbie Ashford ranked ahead of DJ Lagway, would you be more leaning that Robbie has had a career renaissance or DJ Lagway's season has been an utter disaster? The latter.
Probably the latter.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Robbie is a good quarterback. Don't get me wrong. When he's got enough time to get comfortable with the offense that he's in, he's done a pretty good job. But, Florida and DJ Lagway have just, wow.
That one, talk about things that have been utter disasters. That one has been just an absolute dumpster fire. They have a chance to maybe make up for some of that this weekend against Texas, but against that Texas defense, he might throw 6 picks.
It's a good chance.
He might go for some career highs in a bad way. But we alluded to it earlier. I love giving out every year the Sepp Theismann Award. Somebody always wins the month of September but doesn't end up actually winning the Heisman. I think last year you could have given that to Jalen Milroe after he started the season, after he beat Georgia, and then October hit, and they lose to Vanderbilt. And, Jalen Milroe did not win the Heisman, nor was he even a finalist. But who are we giving the Sepp Theismann Award to? I've got some ideas. We'll tell you who they are coming up next. 30 years is a long time. And doing something that well for 30 years puts you in another category of prestige. And that's where Midstate Roofing is in the world of the roofing and waterproofing industry. Look, I told you earlier in the program about Midstate Roofing's ability to be able to tend to your needs, the specific needs of your facility, even after hours. And that is a huge, huge sign of relief for whenever you have needs that are a little more urgent than others. But they're also one of the best at giving you guarantees, right? Like a protective guarantee by the way they design and install bonded systems, and with the way that you can protect a roof with a maintenance contract. Always something that can give you a little better peace of mind when it comes to the health and the overall operating power of your home or facility. Again, that number, 803-356-1919. You can always go online at midstateroofing.com. And remember, if you have a leak, let Midstate Roofing take a peek.
The center lane remains blocked, I-26 eastbound at Bush River Road. And I-26 eastbound between Piney Grove and I-20. Still some stop-and-go traffic as expected on your Thursday morning. 77, breezy at times today, 78 tomorrow. And over the weekend, 81 for both Saturday and Sunday, with a chance for some afternoon or evening showers on Sunday. But we're trying to warm up a little bit. Currently 60 on 107.5 The Game.
Now, the Heisman's the real thing. That is the award given to the best player in college football over the course of an entire football season. Late August, the whole month of September, October, November, and the award is given early in December. But somebody in the first month of the year captures the nation by storm. It is not an official award, but the Sept Heisman has always been a thing. I like to name the Sept Heisman after Denard Robinson because it always seemed like Denard Robinson was going to finally get one after starting off the year on fire for the first 3 or 4 weeks of the season. And then, of course, Michigan did the Michigan thing, and that never came to fruition. Last year, Jalen Milroe's the perfect example. Classic Sept Heisman winner. Has a Sept Heisman moment where in the last weekend of the month, he hosts Georgia. He throws and runs for 1 billion yards. They pull off the most exciting win of the college football season. Things happened after that kept him from winning the Heisman. Sometimes you do have a Sept Heisman candidate who ends up winning the entire thing. Lamar Jackson's one of those. A guy who was the best player in the month of September but carried it throughout the entire season, went away with the award. So that leads us to this. This year, we have to give out a Sept Heisman. I don't know if there's a clear winner, but I think there are a bunch of candidates. And using The Athletic as a tool here, Mitch Sherman polled everybody that covers college football for The Athletic to do just a straw poll, and they gave it to Dante Moore, the quarterback from Oregon. 41 total points, just beating out Indiana's Fernando Mendoza with 36. In third, Diego Pavia at Vanderbilt, which I found to be really interesting. The list rounds out with Reuben Bain Jr. at Miami, John Mateer at Oklahoma, Jeremiah Smith, Ohio State, Carson Beck, Miami, Ahmad Hardy, Missouri, Ty Simpson, Alabama, Haynes King, Georgia Tech, Makai Lemon at Southern Cal, Jeremiah Love, Notre Dame, Chris Brazel at Tennessee, Trinidad Chambliss, Ole Miss, Mario Craver at Texas A&M, and Jordan Tyson at Arizona State, all receiving votes. So if we're giving out a Sept Heisman, do our Sept Heisman ballots reflect the Athletic straw poll?
I think Ahmad Hardy should be higher on that list.
I think so too.
This guy's putting up video game numbers. I mean, 730 yards. I think let me make sure I have this right. 544 yards after contact, I think.
Yep, let me go back and double check that because I have the tab pulled open here. 551.
That's ridiculous. That is
Short of 10
literally,
yards.
that's what I do on EA Sports College Football 26 with my running backs.
Use the right stick.
Yeah, I mean, the guy is unbelievable. And you have to give the credit where it's due. There's no reason, in my opinion, that he shouldn't be on the very early projection list to be a front runner for the Heisman Trophy. He's playing like a superhuman. He's Derrick Henry, but without the fumbles.
Right, Derrick Henry does have the fumbling thing with him is a thing. Dating back to the years playing for the Titans.
So I know this is the Sept Heisman, right? But can I change it to the first week of September Heisman? Because if it was, and we included August, I'd have to put Vakari Swain on there.
Oh, I mean, the punt returns, yep.
Multiple. 3. So that number is still there. He still has 3 returns for a touchdown.
Still
if
matters.
by chance he was to add 2 more, you start getting the records here. It's a conversation to have. That being said, Haynes King.
Oh, I like it.
That's a good, yeah.
Don't know if he's a good quarterback, but I know he's a dog.
Don't know if he's a good quarterback. Don't know if he can throw the ball 5 yards and complete a pass. However, Heisman moments, multiple. He's going to get up. He's going to be bloody. He's going to be bruised. His team is winning, which is always an important thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a lot of story and narrative behind him, and he's just a fun college football player.
Like quintessentially fun college football player, Haynes King is. Definitely like keeping Haynes King in the discussion there. I think I still like Dante Moore. And I know like the season started off where they didn't necessarily play the toughest of competition, non-conference. Oklahoma State, I'll give them credit for beating Oklahoma State the way they did. It's not their fault Oklahoma State has decided, Mike Gundy decided to mail it in the last 2 years. They're supposed to be better. They beat them 69-3, and they threw the ball all over the yard. And I watched the Oklahoma State game. I watched the Oregon State game, and Dante Moore it's one of those, the stats are one thing, but then it's when you watch him play. Are those reflected, right? Are they allowed checkdowns? So this guy is incredibly accurate. And the best thing that any college football quarterback has done in the transfer portal era is doing what he did. He had to play right away at UCLA as a true freshman. And that was an awful situation. And he got beaten up. And he learned some lessons about college football the hard way at UCLA. He goes to Oregon knowing damn well that Dylan Gabriel's the starter. He committed to Oregon after Dylan Gabriel, knowing he was going to take a year to sit behind him, learn from him, be with offensive coordinator Will Stein, who's one of the better play callers in college football right now, and then get his chance. And he has taken every advantage of that opportunity, and he had his moment when he throws for a ton of yards at Penn State, able to help them win that game, plays really well doing it, looked incredibly composed, didn't turn the ball over, did everything that was needed for them to win that game. And Oregon, a team that I thought was maybe a team that didn't belong in the top 10 to start the season, is one that I'm seriously considering giving the title to best team in America right now.
I think you're completely valid in that. I mean, you presented all the facts and just laid that out in nearly perfect form, I would say.
And then I do like Fernando Mendoza at, maybe not at 2, but that's one to watch. That's a guy in Tankathon's latest mock draft has him at number 5 to the Miami Dolphins. His draft stock is soaring. And his evisceration of Illinois was what made me a believer. He made some throws in that game where if you see him from the all-22 angle, you're like, how do you make that throw? And if you want to talk about wins in the portal, getting him from Cal when he was not anywhere near the most highly coveted portal prospect, sometimes you got to hand it to him. And for Indiana to have that evaluation on Fernando Mendoza and get results this fast is me handing it to him.
What's been the Heisman moment of September? What was the Septheisman moment? Can you think of? Can you think of that was the? Has there been a defining Septheisman moment?
I think I think I have one for each of the top 3 guys on this list. Dante Moore winning the game at Penn State. Fernando Mendoza having a game against, at a time, a top 10 team in Illinois, and not just beating them, hanging 63 on them.
Mm-hmm.
That was a big one. And for Diego Pavia to come to South Carolina in a series in which your program has lost 16 straight, and to come in here and win that convincingly, yes, I know what happened to Lenora Sellers. I know that South Carolina did themselves no favors by missing 14 tackles, and offensively they were a disaster as soon as they crossed the 50. But the fact still stands that you did something that program has not done in a long time, and winning in that environment is hard for anyone. Winning in that environment by 24 points is pretty impressive.
Well, especially when you look at I was thinking about this the other day, how many quick decisions he made, where he, one that stands out to me specifically, he takes off on what looks like a QB designed run and then tosses it to the running back,
was offhand.
Offhand, just and jumped doing it, just a little toss, he was playing backyard football, but it gets him a first down. I may not be a huge fan of the guy's personality, but I respect the talent. I mean, he makes good, quick decisions. He's the reason that they're averaging such a high amount of points on offense right now, and why they have a serious chance, in my opinion, of going into Tuscaloosa and maybe ending some narratives for Vanderbilt. It's crazy to say, but
if they do it again, it's not the last we'll have heard of Diego Pavia. That is for sure. That one I would not consider an anxiety bowl. But this weekend, we have the Anxiety Bowl to end all Anxiety Bowls. And we'll tell you what game that is next.
Hey, it's Jen. You need to discover the unparalleled quality and selection at Mill Street Flooring. They're your go-to destination for the finest luxury vinyl plank flooring in the Midlands. the exclusive distributor of Case Luxury Flooring, offering wear levels from 12 to 28 mils for durability and style. Now, whether you're a contractor, a builder, an installer, maybe doing a home improvement project, you're going to appreciate the factory direct prices and manufacturer's warranties. Samples are available in luxury vinyl plank in a wide array of patterns and colors, so you're going to be able to find that perfect flooring instantly. Choose from standard and wider planks to fit any space, any budget. No order is too big or too small. So make sure you visit millstreetflooring.com or call Joe at 803-424-8547 to arrange your appointment at their Lugoff or their West Columbia locations. And now through October 31st, get $107.50 off any order of $1,000 or more at Mill Street Flooring. There's never a good reason to spend more than you have to. Still a little bit of stop and go traffic, I-26 eastbound between Piney Grove Road and I-20. And your weather looking pretty darn nice, starting to get a little more of a fall feel. 77 today with breezy conditions at times, sunny and 78 tomorrow. We're in the low 80s for the weekend with a little bit of rain maybe coming in on Sunday afternoon. But actually, sun is out and it's 59 currently on 107.5 The Game.
from a big picture standpoint, I mean, this is I mean, it's just been a coaching failure, honestly. I mean, that's the best way I can say it. I mean, we have just failed as coaches. I mean, I'm not taking accountability away from the players. I mean, they got accountability in this too. I mean, you know, you got some guys that got to play better. I mean, they're not just on scholarship anymore. I mean, some of these guys are paid a lot of money to perform, and you know, everybody's got accountability. But I mean, it's just an absolute coaching failure.
Ding, ding, ding. I detect no lies, because that is Clemson head coach Dabo Swinney talking about why this team is 1-3. And I honestly, every part of that was very well said. I think if you want to summarize Clemson's season, it is a failure in execution and a failure in coaching. The team is way too talented to be 1-3. And coming up this weekend, Saturday, noon, ESPN, coming up right after College Game Day concludes, they are in Chapel Hill to take on North Carolina, who is bad.
Yeah, worse. When we were talking about the ranking of quarterbacks, I believe was it Gio Lopez?
Yep.
He's very low. I have to scroll. I'm going to keep scrolling. Lower than...
Which, in the write-up, Bill Connolly did say, maybe it's time to just let Max Johnson play out the rest of the season.
Yeah. Well,
I think it's an accurate assessment.
Max Johnson, still in the league.
That's right. Check his birth certificate.
Yeah, for sure. All right, here's what I want to start with this. This is obviously an anxiety bowl for sure. But let's lay it out as to why it is for each squad.
Yes. For Clemson, we'll state the obvious. You lose the game to LSU at the beginning of the season, which I think they would have considered a toss-up game. They might have felt good about it because it's at home. They had the expectations at the beginning of the year. Losing that game would not have defined your season. If you didn't follow it up by trailing 16-0 at home against Troy before finally getting it together a little bit, winning that game comfortably at the end in the second half. But then you go to Atlanta and play Georgia Tech. A terrible start puts you behind the 8 ball. Again. And you couldn't overcome it. Georgia Tech wins. And then you have another bad start against Syracuse. At home, where you are apparently supposed to be unbeatable, especially in games against conference opponents. They're starting to see some cracks in the foundation. Louisville beat them last year at home. And now they lost to Syracuse.
Wait. Who else beat them at home last year?
South Carolina.
Okay.
They have losses to Louisville, South Carolina, LSU, all at home. All in games in which they were favored by most sportsbooks going into the game. They lost all of those games at home. Then you lose to Syracuse, which is a 17.5-point spread. Just for context here. A Syracuse team, which is fine. I don't think it was last year's Syracuse team. And Steve Angeli, the quarterback, unfortunately for him, tears his Achilles at the end of the game. And the backup quarterback comes in and takes care of business and closes you out. Again, plagued by a bad start. And now they're 1-3. I believe for the first time since Dabo Swinney's been the head coach at Clemson. If not, it's the first time in a long time. 1-3 is not where they expected to be with this roster. The get-back game is no longer optional. It is mandatory. For North Carolina, you have a roster overhaul. It's a fresh start. You fired Mac Brown because you underachieved. You went 23-16 in the last few years. You wanted an upgrade. Well, instead of maybe hiring a coach who's maybe a little fresher, maybe a little more experienced in coaching college football, maybe going to hire better assistants, not just ones that are his offspring or the offspring of your buddy who you hired to be the GM. They did take Bill Belichick to a lot of money, gave him a lot of control, and essentially surrendered the program to maybe the greatest head coach in the history of the NFL, who is, a year younger than Mac Brown?
They got younger. They said they wanted to go younger. They did go younger.
Technically get younger in the head coaching department. Technically they did. But that experiment, that social experiment, has gone awry fast. TCU got up 41-7, and spiritually that game was not even that close.
And actually is 41-7 with North Carolina scoring the first 7.
On the first drive of the game, and then giving up 41 unanswered. And you beat Charlotte. Congrats. Charlotte's not very good. You beat Richmond, an FCS program. Congratulations. You're supposed to do that. Well, then they go at UCF even though in a league where everybody's pretty good, I think you can exclude UCF from that narrative. They went 4-8 last year, and they retreaded a hire in Scott Frost. And that game was a beatdown from the beginning. 20-3 at halftime, and I believe the final score ended up being 34-9.
34-9.
So in the last 7 quarters against Power 4 competition, they have scored a whopping 16 points. It has been a disaster. North Carolina needs this to have some type of proof of concept, because even in a conference that has a lot of winnable games, I don't know if that's a team that looks like a team that can win winnable games.
Nick, who needs this more? Clemson coaching staff or North Carolina boosters?
They're the ones who hired him, mind you. This was not Bubba Cunningham's call.
The Clemson coaching staff, in my opinion.
Okay.
I think you were talking about Bill hiring family, hiring friends. We talked about this on Palmetto Sports Daily yesterday, and one of the points that came out of it is, I think towards the end of Bill's career in New England, he was hiring a lot of friends and a lot of family, and it came back to bite him. They weren't making good decisions. They didn't field good football teams. But let's take a look at what's happening in Clemson. I mean, Dabo, I think, has maybe one of his sons on as a graduate assistant, 2 of them somewhere in the coaching staff. And a couple of the other guys that are former players, guys who have worked with him before, people that he trusts and has a good relationship with, that at the end of the day, hey, it's great that you've got these great relationships. Can they coach ball? Are they doing good things for your team, or did you just hire them because you know them and you like them as a person? Like, to a certain extent, I think it does come down to making hires that aren't personal and emotional. And I think we're seeing a little bit of that same kind of separation between Belichick and Sweeney, where there are personal and emotional hires with friends, family, whatever it may be. That, yeah, right now I think it does, going back to your point, though, it falls more on this Clemson coaching staff. If they go in to Chapel Hill and drop another egg and don't get it's going to come down to execution, right? Like, it's not going to, I mean, there might be a couple explosive plays that could change the outcome of this game, but to me, it all becomes who executes better and who's the more physical team. Because right now, I don't think Clemson has proven to me that they're a super physical team. I don't think that they're that rough and tough bunch that we've gotten used to over the past, I guess, decade now, you could say. UNC has a good chance, if they just want to, if they could punch them in the mouth, we might be talking about a wild outcome next week.
It'll be a test of will. And that's the thing. Clemson in this game is favored by 14.5 points on the road. They should bludgeon North Carolina. But that's the fun part about this game, is because the team that's favored to do the bludgeoning, that should be doing it, has not been. And there is a distant gap between what they should be doing and what they actually have been doing. Somebody has to win this game. And we'll give our winners for today's show, because somebody has to win this show. And we'll give those next. We have winners. Our winners for today's show, to feed Mike Singletary's desire for winners, we have to provide them. Preston, your winners for today's show.
My winner for today's show, Ahmad Hardy.
Yeah.
Yards after contact.
Monster.
551 yards after contact, which unfortunately is more yards than the Gamecock running backs have combined from
And Lamar
scrimmage.
Sellers.
And then the rushing game combined.
South Carolina as a team has 499 rushing yards on the season.
That's unfortunate, but very cool for Ahmad Hardy. So that's my first winner.
That's a Heisman, I guess, a Heisman resume stat that you put.
I'm going to go back to the Anxiety Bowl because anybody who's not a Clemson or North Carolina fan this weekend is going to have a field day watching these two teams play football. Like, unless it's a complete runaway one way or the other, if it's a close game, I am going to take great pleasure in watching people from both sides. Like, my roommate is a North Carolina fan. He's gone through it. One of my best friends is a Clemson fan. He's not in a good place right now. I can't wait to watch Anxiety run wild at noon on Saturday.
Here's the thing about that game. Even if it is a blowout one way or the other, I don't know if I can turn away.
No.
I don't know if I can completely turn away if it's a blowout one way or the other, because the look on coaches' faces, if
And
like,
the sidelines, yeah.
like the sideline shots, the discussion that's going to have to be had in the middle of the game, can be really hairy. It can be really hairy for one of them, especially if it ends up being an ugly result. Has the potential for that. My winner for today's show, play action. I've been beating the drum all season long, more aggressively in the last 3 weeks, that this offense for South Carolina, the key to success is really leaning in the play action game. In an old man versus analytics today, I revealed to you and Preston Thorne that out of all the Division I quarterbacks with at least 20 dropbacks in play action, Lenore Sellers ranks third nationally in yards per attempt, not completion, per attempt. That is at 15.1 yards. The only quarterbacks he's behind is Air Force's Liam Zarka and Florida State's Tommy Castellanos. Two teams that their offenses are completely predicated on the running game. It makes sense. Both of them run. Air Force runs the ball because they have to, out of necessity. Florida State does it because they do it well, and Gus Malzahn is their offensive coordinator. But despite you not having a good traditional running game, you are still at 15 yards per attempt in play action. In the SEC, out of all the quarterbacks who have started a game for their team in the Southeastern Conference, Lenore Sellers ranks 12th in that bunch in terms of frequency of play action passes. I want that number to go up. Calling for that to go up. Play action, if we're looking for an identity for this offense, might be the identity.
For my morning meetings today, my winner is going to be playoff baseball.
Oh, yes.
Game threes, several of them. We have 3 of them today, correct?
Game three.
Nick, you have a vested interest in one of them?
Let's go, Yankees. Yeah, the Bronx Bombers are coming tonight. Let's go.
Jen, you have an interest in one of them?
Go, Cubs, go.
Yes. That's what I wanted to hear.
I know. See, that's setting up for you. Yeah, that's my own anxiety bowl today.
Jen's got her anxiety bowl
we have
coming
three
on.
game. We have 3 game threes today. Playoff baseball. Get involved. We will be making a fan primer after today's games to kind of just set you up. So if you want to get invested, because playoff baseball is unlike anything else.
I think there's an unexpected winner out of this, and we talked about this during one of the breaks a while back. Texted you guys about this Saturday. Sam Pittman might have gotten fired, but he's probably going to retire. He's getting a lot of money in his buyout. Mm-hmm. He's going to get to enjoy some time off. He went out like a winner. He might have gotten blown out, but he ran an O-lineman into the end zone for a touchdown out of the meat package. That's a win in my book.
He's a winner
God
in
bless
Nick Harvey's
Sam
heart
Pittman.
forever.
Absolutely.
Forever.
I will
cannot
never
tell him any different.
Yeah, I imagine he saw the suits walking down from the top, and he's like, all right, this is probably it. Call it.
Yeah.
Do it now. I don't care what you say, offensive coordinator who's about to take my job. We're running this play right now.
the level of YOLO that entered his body
I love it.
at
Yeah.
that point in time, skyrocketing on that front.
The YOLO play.
And that is the YOLO play. That is Sam Pittman going full Frank Sinatra and going out his way.
Oh, what a reference. What a great song. You know what? I'm proud of Sam Pittman. I'm proud of what he tried to do at Arkansas because he had a couple good years and he went out the way that he wanted to, some way, kind of. I mean, he got blown out, but besides that point, as a guy who I think defines trenches as a coach, that dude did what he wanted to do.
I know we give out winners in this segment. Hunter Yurachek, the athletic director at Arkansas, loser. Because this guy admitted, he goes, yeah, I didn't put this guy in the best position to win. Well, you're going to way to really sell the job for the next guy, buddy. I didn't give this guy a chance to win. He's coaching with one hand tied behind his back.
Yeah, also maybe winners, the coaches who got fired that don't have to work with Bobby Petrino.
Also winners.
Give me my money, I'm good. I'm cool.
Because if Grady just admitted not giving the head coach the resources he needs to win, he did not giving you the resources to do well in your job either. So no, leaving Arkansas probably makes you a winner. That's all for us today. Tyler Head, Jack Veltri, and the Extra Point. That's next.